All right, so we've been talking a lot about loyalty, authenticity, taking risks, and we're going to delve into those themes throughout our panel. But for starters, I wanted to really kick things off with the theme of loyalty, right? And our shared goal here is, how do we strengthen and nurture our brand's loyalty and relationship with consumers, right? How do we protect the integrity of those connections? How do we build new ones and deepen the bonds of loyalty and trust? And so, just to kick things off, I'm really interested to know, as your brand and the culture around it evolves, how do you keep a pulse on your audience's needs and interests? And we can start with you. Lauren, go.
You've heard a couple of great marketers here today talking about the answers are usually in the comments along with a lot of other things. So I would say at Pizza Hut, our team usually starts in social. Your customers are usually asking for what they want there. But specifically the areas that I own and work in at Pizza Hut, New York influencer as well, is we have an amazing cohort of talent that we tap into all the time, not only for content creation, but also thinking big and understanding what really matters to their audiences, which are ones that we're trying to reach through them that we can't on our own. So I would say tapping your influencer talent to say what is making your audience tick and what are they wanting and interested in as well.
Absolutely.
From a Diamond Crystal perspective, we really lean in hard with social listening, looking both, at qualitative data, like what are people saying, not only on our social channels, but across the web. And then we also take some of that quantitative data and look at, when we are running these influencer campaigns, what are consumers responding to, and how do we lean harder into that? And when they're not, how do we lean out, pivot, and understand where do we need to shift our direction for the future?
I'm going to flip that a little bit. So as you saw and as you heard Dana mention earlier, even when customers weren't traveling around the 2020-2021 timeframe as frequently as they were, we still saw them investing and spending on their credit cards. They were still dreaming about travel. That hunger was still there. And so we saw that as an opportunity to really change our brand and kind of change the narrative of our brand around that everyday engagement. If we want to go from being a frequent flyer program to a travel rewards program to, as I lovingly say, a lifestyle program, we need to meet our customers where they are. And so that's about bringing in more brand partnerships, whether that's with our legacy brand partnerships like the Cowboys, that's leading into that passion point, or new partnerships down the road that expand into those other experiential spaces. That's one way that we've been able to really evolve our brand after listening to our customers and seeing where they were voting with their dollars.
Absolutely. And I think, being on the agency side, right, we're kind of like that middleman between the brand and the influencer, content creator, or any other brands that our clients want to partner with. And I've always believed that, working with any partner requires a lot of trust. And it's both ways, right? It's for your partner to trust that you will give them the creative liberty to do what they do best, but also for the brand to trust that this partner is going to effectively convey the message that they want to communicate to their consumers. And so I would love to know from all of you, if you have an example of a successful partnership, whether it was with an influencer or another brand or organization, where the trust that was built between your brand and your partner resulted in that increased consumer trust.
We recently launched a new product innovation, and if you're not familiar with our brand, we are salt. So you're the thing that goes in the thing that makes it taste much better. But we introduced a brand new product called baking salt, and no one knows what it is. It's brand new. I don't have marketing budget to help educate all of America on why they need it, but where we did feel that we could get the most significant reach and drive that trust with the consumer was by partnering with someone who had a lot of credibility in that space, and by giving her the latitude to tell the story in an authentic way to her audience. The partner of Zoe Banks, she helped us our partnerships are kicked off in April of this year. And that's not like a heavy banking season, but we saw an immediate spike in traffic to our website. We saw an immediate spike in our sales on Amazon. And she continues to develop content for us and tell the story to her audience, as well as helping us tell the story to our audience in a really authentic manner that we think is really resonating with consumers and helping us tell the story in a really effective way.
I'm going to go the opposite direction, although salt is very important in pizza. In 2023, we built the world's largest pizza with air rack. Yes, and it's official. It was 15,000 square feet of pizza. I had to stay up all night rolling dough. But I think it was a really good exercise for our team in saying, like, this was his idea. He came to us and said, I want to build this with you guys to celebrate me getting 10 million subscribers on YouTube. If you don't know Eric, ask your children. He's a lot of young followers. And so we were like, okay, well, what happens if we say no to this? Like, he's going to partner with someone else on it, right? And then when we finally got to yes, it was an exercise in how much do we lean in versus how much do we let him do his own thing. Because at Pizza Hut, of course, he came to us because we have the resources and the production knowledge and all of that, but at the end of the day, he was still very passionate about maintaining his vision. And I think the old way of doing things, our gut instinct of marketers is to say, like, no, I want the creative control. I'm putting the bill for this. Like, I want to make sure that I have control of the outcome. And I think it was such a good exercise for us in saying, like, we decided to partner with this person whom we trust, mostly, to bring this to life in a way that is his vision. And that's the whole reason that we partner with him, right? Like, no one's going to think it's cool if the headline is Pizza Hut built the world's largest pizza. Well, people might think that's cool, but people thought it was way cooler that Eric built the world's largest pizza and Pizza Hut helped him do that. And my boss had a really great way of putting it. It was like, hey, this is Eric's wedding, and we're like the parents who are paying for it, and we want like some of the credit. And I think that's just such an example of like mutual trust. He had some crazy things that he wanted to do, and we were like, okay, but also make sure you're doing this. And it's an example of like a two-way relationship that I think was really important in giving him that trust, just like he gave us.
As a newlywed, that hits deep. So just for context, I'm more kind of on the brand partnerships, kind of loyalty partnerships and long-term relationship side. So I think one thing that was really great for us was we had a wonderful marketing technology relationship with MasterCard. And prior to us really looking at how we can use these assets in a different, innovative way, a lot of our existing current member marketing was very tactical, very functional, very much like providing customers with their benefits. And so we took a chance with MasterCard, who is also a very strong marketer with a very strong brand, and developed a above-the-line paid media campaign to talk about the reasons, the truths around why the customer got their card in the first place. This was kind of our first time leaning into the space of telling ECMs in an above-the-line paid capacity to continue to use their card, reminding them why they got it, increasing that engagement. And so there were a lot of conversations, there's a lot of expectation management, a lot of level setting on what this would look like to have a co-marketed campaign by two very strong present brands in the marketplace. But it performed very well for us, and it increased brand preference and it drove consideration for the card. So in the end, it was extremely impactful.
And you touched on something that is actually a part of this next question, which is long-term partnerships, building long-term relationships with our partners. And having worked with strategy for so long, I always have to go back to data, and I thought that this statistic was very powerful. Over 40% of creators now consider content creation their primary source of income. I work with a lot of influencers, and we've been doing this for a long time, and I think, Lauren, you can relate to what I'm speaking to, but you do notice that there has been a shift in terms of their commitment to the work that they're putting out there. And that is because this is no longer a side job. This is no longer a hobby for a lot of these influencers in particular. They are looking to build long-lasting relationships with brands because it is their livelihood. because they are looking to have that financial security. And so it's, you know, being in the agency side, it's been very interesting to have to also educate our clients into, you know, going into the mindset of, well, how do we go from short term to long term, and what is the benefit of either, right? Because it doesn't mean that because there is this new kind of direction of building longer relationships that you have to completely steer away from also having short-term partners that can continue to help you convey, you know, your message. And so I'm interested in knowing, and again, in any kind of perspective with any kind of partnership, how do you foster those trust, like those loyal and trusting relationships with your partners, and what value do you think building these long-lasting relationships bring to your brand? Lauren, you can start it.
Okay. Well, I just want to give a quick shout out to my agency, my influencer agency, RQ. None of them are here today, but they taught me a lot about what I know about influencer, and one is the importance of true relationships. And I think that nowadays, the audience that we're going after, whether it's super young Gen Z or millennials, like, they are seeing through the pay to play. And so that has to evolve in the way that we approach influencer, and a lot of that has to do with just human connections with people. And so things as simple as celebrating milestones. I mean, Airax was a big one, but someone who maybe just got a milestone of 100,000 followers, we sent them like a custom pizza cake. Or anyone in our hut crew, our tight-knit group of influencers that we regularly go back to for everything, who has a baby, they get a onesie that says fresh out the oven and it has beats on it. Stuff like that, where it's like they see that we're invested in them just as much as they're invested in us, and especially when it comes to now this thing is their livelihood, is super important, and it pays off. These people are people who we go back to time and time again. We have events, different opportunities, moments, not just moments to create content, but also moments to create content. And we use this funny like switching metric at Pizza Hut, like incremental social media value, basically like, how much are we getting for free out of these people because they love us so much? Yes. And it's like, that's a very real angle. Yeah. And I have leadership being like, it's not real. And it's like, yes, these people post about us because they love us. And I think that that is a real unlock when it comes to like relationship marketing. So 100%.
Yeah, authenticity is so huge in that area too. And as we think about kind of long-term relationships, I think our influencer team does a wonderful job of kind of identifying, first of all, very authentic partnerships, but also the frequency aspect. It comes off as more authentic to our customers, the followers of that influencer, if they continue to see it in a meaningful way, in an organic, casual, authentic way. It's not just a pay and play, it's not a one and done. It's someone who's chosen to tie their brand to ours just as much as we've chosen to tie our brand to theirs. So that does make a real impact, as well as just administratively, like finding an influencer who understands your brand guidelines, gets it, is just so great. And frankly, it like makes our team's job at the end of the day just ever so slightly easier, because you know that you can trust and you can build the trust with them to keep that going.
Absolutely.
Year after year.
And not only for them to understand the guidelines, I've had to brief a lot of influencers on our clients, and you know, we are super passionate as we brief them, and we're almost kind of expecting them to react, right? Are they going to think that we have too many do's and don'ts? Are they going to believe in our reasons to believe? Are they going to feel like they're aligning to our values? And we're going to go a bit deeper into these topics, and especially the topic of authenticity. But it's incredible to see how this is relevant across the industry. Did you have something to share?
I mean, do all the above, for
Yeah.
sure. But one build that we have is that we've been fostering and growing our relationships in the last few years with content creator partners, and as a way to recognize and set us apart, those that have really committed to the brand and developing content that we think really resonates with our audience. We are defining a program that we're going to be rolling out this fall called the Salty Squad. And we're really excited to engage, it's a program where we're rewarding them similar to like a loyalty program for our consumers. This is really a loyalty program for those content creator partners.
That's amazing.
That helps us like continue that two-way street where it's not just pay to play all the time. But, like we're rewarding you for the free content that you've created for us and for being a good partner to us for all these years.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And Stacy, I don't want to rain on your parade, so I'm going to let you go a bit deeper into Diamond Crystal's journey in this ever-changing digital landscape. And we were talking about this just a little bit ago, how Diamond Crystal has evolved as a brand, given this new reality of creators really redefining how consumers are engaging with brands, how consumers are purchasing, how consumers are consuming media, right? Creators have completely redefined the way that we're consuming content across the board. So I would love to know, and for you to tell everybody a little bit about how Diamond Crystal has evolved along with the landscape.
Yeah, so Diamond Crystal has been around since the late 1800s. So as a brand, it's been around forever. But from a consumer side, we're only 2 years old. So, what I've been very fortunate with in my team is that when we came in, like, we were given a lot of latitude to define how we were going to go to market with whatever was going to deliver the best results. And so we put at the core of our marketing strategy content creation and influencer as really the hollow of our wheel. And from there, we built out our marketing activations to complement that creator strategy. And we've seen really good success, with reaching the audience we want to reach, delivering the business results we want to deliver, and we've seen, really good support from our leadership team. Cargill as a whole is overly involved in consumer marketing as the core of our business is on the brand revenue side. So it's been really fun to have a leadership team that supports us, and really incredible to see some of the results that we've been able to achieve having this at the core of our marketing strategy.
Absolutely, and I think you coming into that space not so long ago is so refreshing to hear your perspective, because a lot of us struggle with getting our clients to take those risks, right, and to feel comfortable within a space that is very new to them. And working along with clients that might be a bit more scared to step outside of their comfort zone. And Lauren, you and I have talked about this, and with authenticity comes a lot of risk, but with risk comes reward. And so, in order to get that authenticity out there, you have to be almost unafraid and willing to speak up, to be vulnerable with your consumers, and that's scary, rightfully so. And what we also know is that consumers are craving authenticity more today than they ever have before. Consumers are very quick to call you out if they feel like you're not being authentic, and you see that in the comments. And another statistic that I thought was extremely powerful was that 70% of consumers prefer creator content over traditional media, specifically because it is more authentic, it is more relatable. And I would love to know your opinion, all of your opinions on this topic in particular. But Lauren, if we can, and you kind of touched on this earlier, how to balance your brand's essence, right? While at the same time taking those risks and stepping outside of your comfort zone a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to start with Pizza Hut as a heritage brand, but we have not been around since the 1800s, just the 1950s. But I think that in heritage brands, it is very tough to shift the thinking of leadership and to get comfortable with letting go of control a little bit. And don't get me wrong, when I first started at Pizza Hut, we had influencers creating content and being like, okay, now say this is the triple tree box, and it has 3 drawers, and it has 2 pizzas, and a side, and a dessert, and it's all for $19. And we did that. And I think after a while, not only do creators get tired of doing that and being like, can I say anything? fun. But also like we were like, let's see what else we can do from a performance standpoint to enhance what we're already doing. So I think a good way to take calculated risks in a heritage brand like Pizza Hut is to say, hey, we tried this, we really want to do this, here are the level of risks that are associated with that, and see how it performs. Talking about 70% of people prefer to see ads from creators versus brands. It performs better, and then you have a case to say, this is what the data says. Like, the data is pointing towards us doing more of this, and I think that's how you start getting brands comfortable with risk. And now we have open briefs that say, we're launching our new tavern-style Chicago pizza this summer. What speaks to you about all these product attributes? And then just sort of talk about it and make some fun content about it. And it's slowly making its way into all of our paid campaigns, but also being boosted on their own channels too.
Amazing. We just, actually not so long ago, we were working on mid-year reports, and we were going over one of our previous partnerships, and we noticed that we started including more disclaimers into the messaging of that content due to regulations from the leadership. And so we asked our creators if they noticed a shift on their end in terms of their engagement. And if they noticed that between that content and the content that they did for us a couple of years ago, if there was a difference. And the data showed us that there was a huge difference. The content was shot just as beautifully. It was just as engaging. It was the same creator. But just because he added a few seconds in of 2-3 different disclaimers, his own followers noticed it immediately. And you see that. So being able to also share that data with, your, in my case, my client, and say, listen, we tried it this way, this is what works. It definitely helps with continuing to take those risks.
I will say the biggest compliment and like barometer for success for me is that we get comments saying like, oh my god, I didn't even know this was an ad. That's so great. That is I'm like, oh, gold star, I can go home.
100%. And bringing in another statistic that I think is also just as powerful. And we've talked about loyalty, right? And with that loyalty comes advocacy, or at least that's what we hope for. And 60% of creators see partnerships as advocacy, genuinely advocating for products that they align with in terms of their values, right? And like I said, this advocacy leads to those authentic connections with consumers, because the advocacy goes beyond just selling a product. You believe in the product that you're selling. And again, I would love to know when it comes to the values, right? Because again, creators are also looking to partner with brands where they feel like their values are in alignment. So on the brand side, specifically in the world of American Airlines, what are those non-negotiable values that you think of as you work through any kind of partnership?
And I would say, I would expand that to not just creators, but really any brand collaboration. We definitely want to make sure that whoever we're working with makes sense. There's a connection. It could be funky, it could be fun, but at the end of the day, we don't want people like, what's that about? It has to make sense. So I think for us at the airline, we have the great honor of connecting customers to the people and places that matter most, getting them closer to their travel goals and their travel rewards, but also expanding their worldview and exposing them to new cultures and expanding their worldview. So 2 examples that come to mind when we think about like a partner that we had an ad hoc partnership with, and then one where we actually expanded an existing partnership, was last year our brand and creative team collaborated with Barbie to create a Bessie Coleman Barbie. So Bessie Coleman was the first Black and Native American woman to earn her pilot's license. So that was such a cool collaboration on behalf of our brand team. And they were also able to parlay that and kind of take that out to the community and use that as a proof point for talking, generating a discussion around women in STEM. So that was a cool thing. It was an ad hoc partnership that the team was able to bring together fairly quickly
I was going to ask you that. Like, was it as Barbie was in its peak momentum, or was it a little bit later?
I'm trying to think of the timing. I don't think it was quite just before the movie launched. But thinking about legacy brands and thinking about power brands like Barbie. So that was a really cool kind of ad hoc thing that just came to life and really allowed us to kind of tell our story, the story of the people and the things that we care about in a meaningful way. And then when you think about like the partners we've already chosen to work with, there's a reason that we work with them. We've already understood that our values align, and maybe we can identify new synergies. So I mentioned MasterCard before. We partner with them on quite a few different things, but we have a fantastic, strong, independent partnership with Stand Up to Cancer. MasterCard also, you may have seen the commercials, has a fantastic independent relationship with Stand Up to Cancer. So that's one where we were able to expand and build on our partnership with both Stand Up to Cancer and MasterCard. We still do our own thing. We still, tell our story in a really authentic, meaningful way. But we've been able to bring that together for our shared customers, so our credit card customers, in co-brand incentives. So when you donate, you get miles when you use your co-brand card for certain events and experiences that we have for our customers. If they paid or they're redeemed miles, that gets donated back. So that was a really cool way that we were able to expand that partnership and identify like a new space for us to grow in.
Absolutely. And this, we talk about the importance of our partnerships being, founded in this trust and loyalty. That comes the advocacy. But something that's particularly important for me as a Hispanic is representation, right? And this is an ongoing topic across the board for all marketers in the field. The importance of inclusivity and representation and knowing your audience and making sure that your audience and your consumer, all of your consumer segments are being represented in the content that you're putting out there, in your messaging, in your employees, right? And when it comes to partnerships and collaborations, again, not just with influencers, but with other brands, organizations even, how do you ensure that those partnerships and those collaborations represent the breadth of your consumers? We can start off with you, Stacy.
Yeah, sure. Well, in the culinary space, I think there, is a lot of places we can go. But we are very mindful with every campaign that it reflects the diversity of who our audience is. And when we're looking at specific tentpole campaigns, just our most recent summer grilling campaign, our brand partner was Traeger, and we wanted to tell the story of summer grilling, and we wanted a more macro level partner to help us tell that story. And the agency brought forth 5 different opportunities, but one of them was Melissa Cookston, who was one of the only female pitmasters to have won. She's the most awarded female pitmaster in the United States, and she was interested in partnering with us. And we were like, she might not have the biggest audience, but she's telling a unique story, and she's helping us reach a different audience that's important to us and to our growth for the future. So she is who we chose to collaborate with, and it's been a super successful campaign. We're very happy with the partnership, and happy that we were, our agency partner helped us identify someone that could help us speak to an audience that was underrepresented in this space.
Absolutely. I love what you said about she might not have the biggest following, but this is a story worth telling. Because I think that it's so easy for us to go to like the bright and shiny, expensive talent or partner or whatever. And I think that what I've learned in this space specifically is in all areas of marketing, if you're trying to be everything to everyone, like marketing speak, it starts to feel like you're trying to boil the ocean. And so I feel like influencer has been such a space where we can say hey, you don't have the credibility to be talking to this audience, but we really want to reach them, and we want to hear from our super diverse creators, how are you interacting and engaging with this brand? And then not only having our pool of creators fit into a bunch of different categories that from a diversity perspective, but also their audience. And I think that using them as a tool to say, you already know and love this brand. We really want to reach your audience in the most authentic way that we can, and usually that is through listening to them and understanding how they interact with our brand and building off of that and putting more gas on that fire versus, and don't get me wrong, like above the line is super important too, but I think that's where the most authentic connections are coming from in this space, and so really leaning into that.
I love that. That's such a great point, and it's listening. Listening to people's experiences, listening to people's cultural preferences, and I think that's something that our teams, both on the content and creative side in-house, but also our influencer teams, do a really fantastic job of listening to what our customers want, but also sourcing creators from a variety of diversity types. So they not only brief on the cultural diversity, racial diversity, but also gender diversity, ability diversity, lifestyle diversity, and then once we get a great representation of, we have a very diverse customer base and a very diverse employee base, good representation there. They do a really great job of having the conversation with those creators to make sure that that story is authentic to them and what their experience would be. And it, I think, just really makes the magic happen.
Amazing. And I'm being told we have to wrap up. So just to wrap up very, very quickly, I have this one last question, but we have to rush through it, so I'll make it easy. Our whole panel was about how to win with brand partnerships and influencer collaborations. So in 3 words, if you had to choose 3 words, what are the top 3 things needed to win with brand partnerships and creator collaborations? So we can start off with you, Megan.
Okay.
I have 3 phrases.
Okay. Setting expectations, clear communication, and ruthless strategic prioritization.
Okay, no surprise here, I would say relinquish some control, building real relationships, 2-way relationships, and test and learn.
Gosh, it took all the good words. No. I'd say like remaining authentic, being true to your brand. But I think it's super important that you relinquish some of that control and be willing to take risks.
Absolutely. Thank you, ladies. Very inspiring.